boy, here we are again. Rockets ready to go across the fruited plain of America. Hope is in the air. The opening, I thought the opening goes longer than that. Don't we have more music and it goes on and there's applause and it's just kind of died right there.
I think it's right, but you did say, oh boy. I'm telling you, we're going to get a cup that says, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Well, maybe I want more musical opening. I like the longer runway so I could kind of take off.
You want to turn it back on?
Take the show off on a longer runway.
We'll keep rolling and just have him turn the music back on and you just redo it.
Well, no. We're already off the runway. But anyway, listen. Glad you're here watching today. Glad you're here listening today. And if you're on who knows whether it's, this one will go on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, we self-edit. It's terrible in America when you have to self-edit yourself because you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. Anyway, this is one show we're going to put across all platforms. I'm not even going to say anything controversial today. Not on this show. Because this segment is going to be really exciting. We're going to talk about the revival that has already begun. Mario and Murillo and I were together in Pasadena following up on the Tulsa meetings. A lot of people don't know what's going on because, you know, we live in silos, but we had like around 10,000 one night, 12,000 the second night for this breakout it was really a flashpoint broadcast. It was a strange thing to have an arena filled with people for a broadcast, but it was more than that because it's a movement. It's a populist movement, and the Christian community in America is not going to go softly into the night and let the country go down in flames. It's rising up, and it's not only when I say Christian, I'm not talking about just those that are in my audience that actually are, you know, very strong believers. I'm talking about the fact that 25% of our audience are what we call notional Christians. Notional Christians are people that have a dim memory of what America was like when it was under the era where faith wasn't despised and Christianity had some kind of was like a glue that held the culture together in some semblance. And people love the flag, or they love God, and they remember Billy Graham affectionately, and they know who he is. Then a kind of new era came along where it's almost like there was not just a silencing of that voice, but almost a hostility to it, like, shut up, get out of here, we don't want to hear it. And it's so un-American because America really functions as a nation that has its beauty is in its diversity, but its diversity is predicated on a tolerance for that diversity. And this intolerant woke movement is bullying and pushing everyone that doesn't bow the knee to the new orthodoxy into silence or into Siberia, where they talk to each other on their own little platforms until they get shut down. And COVID was a devastating silencing effect because it shut down churches. And there was a reason why this was a significant danger to America, because the Constitution, our system of government, provides protection for people of faith. And this is the first time where people of faith had to come under the authority of government theory, not even a government case, but a government theory that you needed to be silenced and you needed to say nothing negative about this, and you need to be shutting down your churches. And I think that where we are now is we're having it's that chilling effect that was there is thawed out. And now you have people waking up. And they're saying, wait a second, what the heck was that all about? And now there's information coming out from all kinds of sources that are revealing the fact that you're better off in a society where you can challenge ideas and test assumptions and prove what you've got. Because the Bible talks about science falsely so-called. And that's a whole lot of what you've got called trust the science was science falsely so-called. And the number of physicians that were silenced, and the number of authorities that were silenced, once again, had a chilling effect, and it's not going down well. It's almost like America's thawing out, and it's producing what we believe is going to be an awakening. And the awakening can be a rude awakening, or it can be a great awakening. It depends on whether or not we get God back in the public square, which, you know, basically, if you ignore God, God doesn't go away. He just leaves you to your devices and you learn a lesson. Anyone who's ever backslidden in America, any Christian out there knows that word backslide. It's a funny word if you never used it before. But a backslider is somebody who walked with God in faith and then turned away. And the Bible says the backslider shall be reproved with his own devices, meaning that when you start walking away from the God who blessed you, from the decisions that prospered you, from the relationships that flourished you, when you start serving another God or you start giving your life over to greed or lust or selfishness, the blessing starts getting interrupted and you start reaping a harvest of misery. And America is now getting a full-faced harvest time, and it's producing in us wait a second, is this what I signed off on? So this is the story, the backstory with what's going on in Florida with Disney. It's not about Governor DeSantis and Disney. It's about two spheres of ideas that are colliding. And the left is in a full takeover mode. They're not politely trying to persuade. They'll intimidate, they'll shut you down, they'll scare you into submission or bribe you into compromise. And so there's a righteous pushback happening right now. And I'm not of the opinion that Christianity doesn't engage in the affairs of the nation on a full spectrum. In other words, Christianity isn't just a Sunday morning religion. It's a lifestyle and a worldview. And you cannot silence the worldview of 50 to 80 million people just because you don't like it. That's not how America functions. So we're finding a voice, and we're not mobilized before because churches are so divided, ministries are divided, but we found a way to get around it. The populist movement. This is what I've been preaching from day one. The populist movement. That means the people rising up and commanding that and demanding that their representatives, their pastors, that their leaders actually reflect their tithes, offerings, beliefs, and their vision of what America should be. And we're going to see a great reformation come out of that. Now, Mercedes, you were trying to flag me down several times to you disrupting, throwing things to the floor, whatever
people
that
probably
was.
can't hear it, but something fell on the ground while I was moving papers
Mercedes
around.
Sparks, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have the applause. Where's my applause machine?
Yay, they'll put it in post.
Thank you. There
Paul.
we go.
So I wanted to bring up, though, because you did a really unique thing the other day when you were at the Tulsa rally. You had our entire team put together something that you affectionately have called the Kenneth Hagin prophecy. And so as you're talking, I'm like, oh, this is so exactly like what you say is coming. So I just wanted you to speak to that. And then we gave it as a free gift in Tulsa. Do you think it's okay if we give it on the podcast?
LanceWallnau.com/Hagin, Hagin.
Yep.
And here's what I offered out there for people that are interested. 1967, Kenneth Hagin, who had his Oral Roberts and Kenneth Hagin were both based in Tulsa, along with Harrison House and a multitude of other ministries. And in Tulsa, Brother Hagin, who was part of that 1948 revival, as was Oral Roberts, that move of God that happened after World War II, that move of God that I look at the fourth turning, we look for awakenings to put America back on track. Fourth turning is a term that we've used often. Bannon uses it. It refers to a cycle of crises in America every 80 to 100 years that redefines who we are as a nation. It's a crisis of survival. And when we come through the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the Second World War, there typically is an awakening. And the awakening either precedes it or it closely follows it. And it establishes the direction. We had that revival in 1948. 1967, Kenneth Hagin, who was part of that early move of God, he had a vision of fire coming down from heaven. And it was fire coming down because this inky black hand of Marxism and communism, totalitarian takeover of America, had suddenly risen up as almost like a demonic cloud and was descending upon the nation. But God did something to disrupt that agenda. And Hagin at first was concerned because he looked at the faces. He saw people were burning like they're on fire. And he was wondering, what does that mean? Then he looked more closely. It was tongues of fire. They were getting tongues of fire. And he saw a move of God that was going to be global. I believe that we're in that move right now.
Don't go anywhere. You're going to miss it. The whole podcast is over on lancewallnau.com/podcast. This is just an excerpt. go watch the full thing, click the link in the description. It'll take you right there.
You know, I wrote a book and I talked about Hagin, the prophet, talking about God is going to shake all the nations, including economic systems. And then just recently I got challenged by a verse. It says, the silver is mine and the gold is mine. And I began to think, you know what? I'd hate to find out there was a promise and a warning here on silver and gold, and I never even thought about it. And that's the reason why I want you guys to do something right now. You want to get a 20-page special report on silver and gold. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch, because Birch Gold is one organization that is being used by a lot of very credible people right now in order to position themselves with silver and with gold. You need to now start to look into this and learn what it is that maybe God was trying to say, that the silver is mine and the gold is mine. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and find out for yourself.